Hey guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is Mark Melbourne TV. This video is going to be an update on all conversation around Bitcoin and the recent events. So first off, Bitcoin has had, in my opinion, an incredible run since earlier this year. Having that massive run up from 3,000 ish range all the way up to $14,000 was incredible. It got Bitcoin back on people's radar. It got a lot of the bears or the people saying that Bitcoin was going to die or to drop back down to the thousands or 2,000s. That became less of a possibility in most people's minds, and people were kind of looking at, where can we go to in the context of things? Are we going to end up back where we were at all-time highs at $20,000? Are we going to range sort of around that 10,000 mark? What's going to happen? So I don't think many people expected us to run all the way up to $14,000, and this is evident because not more than a week later we had a big crash all the way down to $8,500, which is just insane. So that's blockchain. Blockchain. That's blockchain, and I love it. Having Bitcoin crash or have that kind of volatility in such a short amount of time is something experienced traders and people who've been in the space are starting to see as normal. It also highlights or underlines how new or how undeveloped or how early we are is probably a better way to say it. We are in terms of developing Bitcoin blockchain, adopting it, and understanding the true value of this technology that is still being refined. It's still being governed, right? But more recently, we've seen Bitcoin range for weeks and weeks and weeks, basically grinding and slowly dropping down. A lot of people thought that giving up the 7,800 area, we were going to continue down to 7,300. People on Twitter were going crazy. Reddit forums, most people were starting to become incredibly bearish. And when people get bearish, what happens? Bam! You get President Xi Jinping. I'm gonna butcher his name. The Chinese president makes an announcement, publicly says that he's going to fully embrace blockchain. Next thing you know, within 24 hours, 48 hours, 42% increase in 42 hours. The biggest increase we've seen in such a short amount of time over the last 7-8 years since inception of Bitcoin. So just goes to show, when you start getting bearish or you start getting too comfortable, when people become so certain that an outcome is going to happen, often we'll have something left wing, call it manipulation, call it someone capitalizing on the herd or the psychology around Bitcoin, obviously sentiment being incredibly bearish. Someone capitalizes on that, goes long, there's an announcement made, and someone makes a ton of money, or a group of people make a ton of money. So I think you have a contrast of that. You think back and China says, hey, we're not going to I remember 2017 China basically saying, hey, it's all not all a scam, but their sentiment was very different. And a public announcement by them not condoning blockchain basically saw a big crash in crypto, 10-15% on the other end. So I think it gives us a bit of context as to how easily Bitcoin blockchain can be manipulated based on sentiment and also timing. So I think these things are often very much so timed. But anyway, so where are we at now? In the last 24 hours, basically we've been ranging between 9,000, 9,400. It looks like it's going to break out, but it doesn't. I personally think that we're going to revisit sort of the 8,300, 8,500 range. And then by the end of the year, my expectation is for us to reach $14,000, and if not 14,000, potentially $13,000. Obviously, I'm just a crazy guy in front of a camera on the internet making a prediction, so not financial advice, just an opinion of one man. What's this based on? Not a lot, to be honest, but I think because my intuition sort of tells me we're past that bearish bottom of the 3,300 range. We've sort of found support around the 6,000, and then again found support around $8,800. I just don't see us really going below 7,500, 7,300 again. So naturally that leaves me between 8,500 and $14,000. So let's think about that for a minute, right? So $8,500 all the way up to $14,000. That's really maybe a 55-60% increase, which can happen over the matter of 6 weeks. Can it happen? 100% it can happen. We've seen a lot more happen in a lot less time. So that's my opinion so far. What else is going on? What else can I talk about? I know there was an announcement, I think, around Turkey looking at announcing their own state-backed coin next year, 2020, which is going to be interesting. I haven't read too much into it, but I did read the headline, so we'll look into that a bit more. Otherwise, something that's sort of been in the background or talked about a little bit is Facebook Libra, the Facebook coin, which is meant to be announced sometime next year. I think Facebook Libra, this whole thing is more trouble than it is worth, although it's putting us on the radar for a lot of regulation. It's putting us on the radar of Facebook being criticized by states, governments, the US government. What is going to come of this is basically a race for states, the US, for regulatory countries that have a lot more to lose to basically back up, create their own blockchain, create their own coin, which allows them to create real-time transactions, which obviously is going to be superior to the alternative at the moment. So I think, honestly, while it puts us on the radar, regulatory wise, it's going to probably hold us back more than anything. And I think the governments are starting to see that obviously as a very real threat. There's a lot of people who don't want to see that happen. Even as investors, while that puts us on the radar, I think the step forward with Facebook Libra isn't necessarily good for the space. But I'll cover that more in a different video. Facebook Libra, Turkey's state-backed coin, President Xi Jinping, and what else is going on? I guess that pretty much covers it. I think altcoins are starting to look interesting, so I might make a separate video covering some of the coins that I'm watching. Binance. Yes, actually, there was one other thing I wanted to cover. So BitMEX, one of the exchanges I actually happen to trade on when I leverage, or I use that as my preferred choice of exchange for leverage trades when it comes to Bitcoin. There was an announcement. Hacked emails basically leaked over the dark web, so people's passwords, emails. If you basically have the same email password across multiple exchanges, if your details are leaked, like in this case with BitMEX, a hacker who theoretically has your logins could potentially try to log into some of the main exchanges, withdraw all your funds, transfer it to a different account, and you've lost everything. So when one of the largest exchanges on leverage, who does future trading, Bitcoin futures and Bitcoin trading on leverage, it's really important that you have, or the lesson to be taken out of this is to have a different password for different exchanges. So someone could have logged into my Deribit account, they could have logged into my Huobi account, logged into my Binance account, withdrew all my details potentially. I've obviously since changed my passwords for these accounts, but it just goes to show that these exchanges are constantly under vulnerability attacks that are security based. And another example, which is somewhat related, is Deribit also had a $1.3 million flash crash where the price dropped quite a bit. A lot of liquidations went through, all because the price was pegged to a particular exchange, which completely crashed and distorted the Bitcoin's future prices. And in doing so, basically a whole bunch of accounts got liquidated because their stops were run, and a bunch of people lost money. But props to Deribit to being the sixth biggest exchange, and leading by example by saying that they're going to reinstate those funds to all the accounts that were affected. On one hand, is really positive to see from the Bitcoin community, and we're starting to see this as almost sort of precedence. So if you see Binance doing this, and then seeing Deribit do this is hopefully going to be, these guys obviously understand the importance of having the trust, and that's the only thing that keeps people trading on these exchanges. Excuse me. So it just goes to show, sixth biggest exchange, these fundamental issues shouldn't be happening to them, but they obviously still are. So it goes to show that there is still a lot of room for improvement, and we're just so early in the space. But would love to hear your thoughts. What's been on your radar? Put it down in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys got something out of it. Maybe got you thinking about something you hadn't thought of. I will catch you guys on the next video. We'll continue to share my thoughts. Join me on the next one for more tips, more analysis, and more opinions on the crypto